What's going on with y'all?
Good. How about you? What's the issue today, sis?
What's the issue? I am so glad you asked that, Mila. Right.
You gotta let them be. You gotta let kids be kids. But I don't know about.
Who taking Miss Mabel to the subway though? Okay.
Hypothetically speaking.
I thought you were gonna say something else. That's some sexy music, ain't it?
What's the issue?
No.
What's the issue?
Can you not?
What's the issue?
I'm talking about you in the outfit, and I look like I got the same outfit and the same hair on that I had in the intro.
Well, you know me. I never have two of the same styles.
But I want everybody to see my shirt because you know why?
What's the issue?
Do you know why? You know why? You got to say why. No. Why are you being like that?
The same way you always talking about how I always mention that I'm 26 is the same way you get around your birthday.
Listen, you got to say why. Why am I wearing this shirt? Why am I wearing this shirt, Yanaa?
I don't know, LMFT. Why?
Because my birthday tomorrow.
Oh.
It's my birthday.
I wish we had some like that.
Yeah.
That's what happened. We gonna get a real production, you know. Now
that might be a sound on here. I just don't know how to do it. So anyway, hi everybody.
Hello, sis family.
What's the issue? What's the issue, sis? What's the issue, sis? What is we talking about today on the day before my birthday?
What's the issue?
We're not doing that.
Okay, but when people come on at the end of the show, I'm gonna sing that little tidbit and I'm gonna ask. So should we make a theme song? Should Yanaa make a theme song? And should it be like that, like a 90s? Okay, anyway, so today we are talking about truth and relationships, right?
We're talking about truth, period. Just truth. Let's just talk about truth.
That's too broad, though.
Is it?
I think so.
What's the truth? What's the issue with the truth? What is the truth?
What's the issue with the truth is that the truth is not the same for everyone.
Exactly. So, that's the point.
That's the biggest thing. And
we started this out of the conversation that we were having about cheating and infidelity and talking about telling people the truth.
Yeah.
Which is not something that people do. But what's the truth? What's the truth versus reality? Why do we always have to have our reality validated by somebody else in order to know that that's reality?
Because when you have your own reality that you're living in, it reassures you that you're living the right way if other people feel the same way that you do. I think that's part of it. And just to go back to what we were talking about polyamory specifically, which we've talked about before, but we were talking about polyamory versus cheating and how when some people cheat, they, in their minds, they're not cheating because they have to tell themselves whatever it is they have to tell themselves in order for them to not be cheating. So
that's what we were talking about with cognitive dissonance. And a lot of people, for some reason, again, like everything else mental health these days, that is a term.
Cognitive dissonance means?
Well, I'm about to.
Oh.
Okay. Let me just, Anyway, that is a term that's now being used like anxiety and bipolar disorder. People say cognitive dissonance like it's just something that they just throw out, but people don't understand what that means.
Who said
what it means? A lot of people do. Is it just me? A lot of people do. I've heard a lot of people use that term in just regular conversation. talking about people because people think that makes them sound intelligent. But anyway, so cognitive dissonance is basically having a reality of your own, right? Your brain separates itself from your reality so that whatever it is that you're doing is comfortable for you. So you kind of separate yourself from whatever's really happening so that you can live in and be functioning in whatever reality you want to create for yourself.
Yes.
That's a simplified terminology for it. But it's basically separating yourself from reality. So a lot of times people use that term when they're talking about like how people view certain issues in the world, right? Like how people view, or when they were talking about the Trump era and how people view Trump's presidency, or how people view what Trump had to say, or how people view like police brutality, right? There's different sides of it, and some people use a certain reality in order to make themselves feel comfortable with what's happening and what's going on, because that's like a mental technique or mental strategy that some people use to separate themselves from their reality. And we were talking about how a lot of men do that when they're cheating on their spouse, because they have to make themselves believe that what they're doing is not as bad as what it really is. And if it's not me doing it, then that means that I'm not accountable or responsible for my behavior.
Period. No integrity.
The who?
I said no integrity.
Why?
That's just how I feel.
Why? Why is that how you feel?
Because the one thing about cheating that we kind of talked about in regards to truth is that the problem is not always necessarily the act of doing what you're doing with somebody else. The problem is the honesty. The problem is you not having, or whoever not having the maturity and mental capacity to be able to tell someone, this is what I want to do, because they think that it's not going to be accepted, or they think I need to keep this relationship, or they're depending on whoever it is in that relationship. So they want to go and do something else. But that's why it's no integrity, because I just feel like, here's one thing I feel like as adults too, that we talk about all the time. People can't wait to be grown. They talk about I'm grown because I do whatever I want to do. And then they still kind of live in this space as if like, I'm going to get in trouble. If I do this, I'm going to get in trouble. And the people that are around me, my family, my mother, my father, my friends, are going to feel some type of way about me if I'm not in this relationship, or if I am not in a monogamous relationship, or whatever the case may be. And that's part of the problem with truth. And that's why I think truth and reality, there's no such thing, because we all live in our own, but it's influenced by outside people. And it just, not everybody is on the same page, and everybody's truth is not the same. And just because you say something that's true a month ago doesn't mean it's going to be true 3 months from now. So that's also a big point, I think.
That's a good point. So then what is truth and what is reality? Because your reality today is not going to be your reality 3 months from now.
But I think that's the problem too. Reality is supposed to be in the moment, I think. And I think that that's what it is. Whatever happened in the past or whatever happens in the future is what happens. But right now, what your truth is what you should be saying. You can tell about what your truth was, but I think it's always going to be different. And I think reality is always going to be different depending on things that you learn, people that you know, people that you meet, situations that you encounter, because you could have one relationship with somebody and not want to be with that one person and be cheating on them, and then a few years later get with somebody else and be completely monogamous with that person. So I just think being truthful is about saying how you feel in the moment and what's true for you right now. And I think that's a hard thing to do, especially when you feel like there's expectations on you of what the truth should be or what your reality should be.
How many people have in the moment relationships? Not many. Not many people have in the moment relationships.
What do you mean?
What do I mean? I mean, this is what we're doing now. There's always Well, what are we going to do? Well, what are we? Well, where are we headed? What are we supposed to be at this point? Right? And what am I doing now in order to get to this point? Nobody is in, this is what we're doing now. We're enjoying each other now. We're having these moments right now or today, and tomorrow it might change. Everybody is always in, let me get with this person so that I can figure out what it is that I'm going to do in the future, or what my future is going to look like, or if this person is included in my future. And this is another thing we were talking about before. Like, if you just enjoy what is happening right now, a lot of those worries won't be there. A lot of the worries from the past and a lot of worries from the future won't be there if you just enjoy what is happening around you right now. Whatever the relationship looks like right now, that's what it is. But then when we're talking about cheating, what's the truth about that? Who would tell, what truth would be told, right? Other than, I'm not just having sex with you, I'm having sex with you and this person. But then eventually that might change.
But that's the truth. And the only, you know, my problem when it comes to cheating is,
I don't. They don't. People don't know. What's your problem?
My problem about the cheating in relationships is not that you feel like you need to go and get something somewhere else. It's that you are creating a reality, a truth with one person, and they're believing that this is what's going on when really it's completely different, and they have no idea. And that's part of it. And then when they do find out, they're devastated because everything that they believe to be true has not been true all this time. And I think that that's part of the issue, especially if you're the person that's cheating and you're just going along with everything and making it seem like everything is okay. It's the fact that they've been living in the reality, and if you've been doing it for years, they've been living this reality for years with you, and they had no idea that it was something else that was going on. And that's my problem with it, is that the person that is unknowing and they don't know what's going on, and they don't have an option or a decision to be able to say, you know what, this is not something that I want to be involved in. I don't want to do that with you, but you can go do that with someone else.
Okay. Playing devil's advocate. Is it not true because you find out that something else is true?
Yes.
No, it's not. Listen to what I'm saying. Because listen, if you have a relationship with somebody, right? You are going 20 years. That person takes care of the bills. He takes care of the kids. He takes care of the family. He does all the things that you want him and need him to do. Right? There's nothing lacking in your relationship. 20 years later, you find out that he's been seeing somebody else sexually for a week at a time during the 20 years that you've been together. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Does the 20 years that you've been together disappear?
Yep, because you're a liar.
No.
That's okay. Let me not say it disappears.
That is still your truth. That is still what was true to you, regardless of whether something else happened to be true. It doesn't mean, I mean, I'm not saying people are not liars. I'm not saying that at all, because people lie all the time. But I'm saying that in order for someone to be okay with what is happening in their life, they have to accept that that is also another truth. It is true that you've been out here putting your penis in somebody else every week for the 20 years that we've been married. But it's also true that we've had this life together.
I don't think it's the problem of, I don't think the problem is like, okay, this life that we had together is not real. But think about things. Okay, think about this.
But that's what people do. That's what they make it into when it's. That's why infidelity is a big issue, because now this, what you told me, this reality that I know is not real to me anymore because you've been doing something else.
Because you hid it and you lied, and that's the thing. And you're a big advocate on honesty, so that's part of the problem. The problem is not you having a separate life. But here's the thing: there's not just going to be somebody that's out cheating and their relationship is going 100% great. There is going to be times when, especially if you're a cheater, where you're gonna have to look for opportunities. Especially if your relationship is going good, there's gonna be fights that are gonna be had, so you can go do whatever you want to do. There's gonna be times that you're gonna be somewhere and you're not necessarily telling your partner where you're at. And I don't necessarily think that that's a necessity to do. But in traditional relationships and how things go, you're gonna have to lie to your partner, and that's part of what my problem is. Because if you lie about being with somebody else, you're a liar, which typically means that's not the only thing that you're lying about. You're lying about multiple things. And also, if you feel like you can't tell the person that you're with, you know what, I feel like I'm lacking this, and give them an opportunity to give that to you, or give them an opportunity to say, well, go get that from somewhere else. That's the problem. And then later, when you find out, okay, wow, you were cheating, and then you think back to, wow, and I thought I was tripping because this happened and this happened and this happened, and now it makes sense to me. But if I would have known up front that this is what you wanted to do, I would have known. So it would have been a lot easier for me to handle it then than to handle it 20 years later when I'm like, what the heck? That's just like anything with trauma. Like when you're younger and you protect yourself from certain situations. Sorry, I'm gonna get a little heavy, but like if you get molested or you get raped when you're younger, and your brain does whatever it does so that you don't have to remember that, and then later you find out that it happened, and you find out that the people around you knew, you don't trust them, and you start to feel like, first of all, why didn't you do anything? And why was I not aware of this? Why were the other people around me not aware of this at the time? And you wait to tell me this when it's something that I had to protect myself from in that moment. And I didn't even really know what was going on, which is not the same as like cheating. I don't feel like cheating is necessarily trauma. I feel like that is, especially if it's a lot that's going on in it. But it's the fact that knowing that something was going on, and you felt probably that something was going on, and you probably felt like things are not okay, because 9 times out of 10, if somebody's cheating on you, you feel like things are not okay. And if you're having these conversations with your partner and saying, is everything okay? Or, and they're reassuring you like, yeah, it is, we good. And this and that, that's the problem. Because I don't think that the woman is just going to go and thinking everything's cool. And she probably already knows 9 times out of 10, even if he's taking care of home, even if he's doing whatever he did, like back in the 60s, when they was doing that and having families everywhere, and the woman 9 times out of 10 knew, or she found out from somebody else. And then your dude is like, well, no. And then he on his deathbed and said, yeah, I got 3, 4 other families.
Not 3, 4. Okay. So okay. But I am not a believer of cheating being a thing. Only because people want to control. It's a form of control when you are believing or assuming that a human person is only going to be involved with, only going to have feelings for, only going to have sexual feelings for just you for the rest of the entirety of their life. Because that's not even evolutionary wise, biology wise, emotional wise, that's not even real. For people to be able to just have feelings for one person for the rest of their life, that's not real.
You're right, but
that's not reality.
Cheating is a thing because, like we're talking about, people are not honest. It's not about you. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish what you're going to say.
Well, no, the honesty part of it, I think, is in telling people what the reality is, what is really happening. What is really happening is, this is what I'm doing. Exactly. However, why do people lie? Right? You were just like, you brought up lying earlier. Why do people lie? A lot of people lie because either they're trying to hide the truth from someone because they don't want to be judged, like you said. They're either, or because they want to believe that this thing that they're doing is okay. Exactly. Or because they just don't want you to know what it is that they're doing.
Which is on them. All of it.
Exactly. But that's on their behavior, right? But that doesn't make, and I keep saying, it doesn't make what is happening to you any less true. Because your truth is, this is what we've been doing. But then look, if you're talking about a person who is thinking that something is going on, and you know that something is going on, and you're asking that something is going on, then they're telling you that it's not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're dealing in relationships, you deal with control. If I'm asking you what's going on, if you go out, if you leave the house and you go and cheat, or you go and be with somebody else,
mm-hmm.
and I'm asking you, where you going? What is it that you doing? Why is it that you've been gone for such and such time and you ain't been here?
Mm-hmm.
But if a person says to themselves, I'm not even going to worry about that. Whatever it is that they out there doing, that's what they out there doing. As long as what's going on in here is taken care of. And if it's a problem with what's going on in here, then we address that.
I hear you. The problem that I have with that, the problem that I have with that is whoever is doing that cheating, when you feel like you have to cover up something to protect somebody or to not be judged, that's you not living in your truth. And yeah, it is. Because if you were living in your truth, why are you hiding it? Why are you hiding it? And I'm not saying everything needs to be out in the open, but when you are in a relationship and you decide, you say, hey, you know what? Let's be in this monogamous relationship. You make an agreement with somebody that this is what we're going to do. And if you decide to cheat, you weren't being honest in that moment, or you might have been being honest in that moment. But if you decide that you want to cheat, that means something has changed in your reality and in your truth. And you should be able to let that person know that you made that agreement with. Something has changed for me. And I'm not saying that when we made this agreement that I knew I was going to do this, but this has changed for me. And now this is my new reality. And this is the new truth I'm living in. And you let them have the option to say if that's something they want to deal with or not. That's the problem for me, is that when you decide to cheat, you take away the other person's opportunity to say if that's what they want or not. And regardless of whether, and I agree with you about, you can't really expect somebody to just be attracted to you their whole life. But that's where the honesty comes in. If it was more of a thing of like, hey, we're in this relationship, but I know you're going to look at women. I know that you're going to, or I know that you're going to look at men, because women look at men too. We have emotional relationships with other people, and we have dreams about dudes, and we like dudes in the movies and stuff like that. So it's not just women that do it. I mean, it's not just men that do it. Women do too. But I'm saying, if you're not in a relationship where you feel like you can be completely open and honest as yourself, why are you in that relationship in the first place? And that's the problem for me. If you feel like you have to cheat and you don't have to tell her what's going on. Now, if y'all know what's going on already, and that's just something that you're doing, you're not telling everybody in the outside space, cool. But it doesn't only affect you. And another thing is, especially when you have children, children are smart, and they see things and they realize things. And people do stuff like taking their kids to their mistress's house and stuff like that. And then it gets the kid accustomed to, well, I have to start lying to my other parent because this is something that my parents said that I don't need to be sharing. So I don't think it's just a problem. I don't think it's cool to do. I think that's just a lie about your reality. And you obviously are ashamed of that side of yourself if you feel like you can't be open with the people that are around you.
Like you said, that's about shame, secrets, and lies, right? Because, and you said, why would somebody do that and not be honest? How many people do you know personally that, other than your mother, who would be okay with that?
I do know people. I know people that are polyamorous.
For real?
Yeah.
Like, for real.
Weird, but yeah. And I mean, let me not say weird, but 9 times out of 10, the people that I know that are in that situation, they're not really close with their family 9 times out of 10. And they're not, they have like a friend type of family unit, because a lot of the times they go away from their traditional values. A lot of trans people, a few trans people I know, mostly the people that I know that do it are not like straight. So, but then they already live unconventionally. So,
well, I mean, I know quite a few people who practice polygamy, and that even in practicing polygamy, even in having those ideologies about the fact that it's okay, they still lie, because a lot of the times, them practicing that practice, the community is not as welcoming to them as they would be if they were just in a monogamous relationship. They do it on the under on the DL. They do it on the low because it's not acceptable in the community, even that it should be acceptable in, because they're the ones that are pushing that message. But no, it's very rare that people accept, when you have made an agreement to be in a monogamous relationship, that something is going to change for that person. Because scenario like you just said, we are together for 10 years. It's just me and you. Mm-hmm. And you meet somebody who makes you feel something that you haven't felt in a long time. And it would be for you at that point to say, hey, I met somebody and I think that I want to explore a relationship with this person. But who in reality, the reality that we live in, does that?
I mean, I'm sure there are some people that do.
I don't think there's a lot. I mean, we know that there's, statistically, there are people who do it, but they don't do it out loud. They don't do it in the open. There's open marriages, but people don't tell people that their relationship is open, right? People they don't let it be known that that's what's happening. And there is, there is this idea that you're not supposed to do it. You get judgment from everybody around you.
Yeah.
Because why would you ever do that to somebody? Why would you ever treat somebody that way? But being honest, like Nika said, it hurts, but it's better than not being honest about what your situation is.
Exactly. That's why the uncovering it 20 years later is hurtful. Let me say this. Let's step away from romantic relationships for a minute. It's a text. Right. It's many ways that you can do it now. You don't have to have that face-to-face conversation, but let's step outside of romantic relationships, for example. And let me give it to you in another way of truth. Okay. So you have a friend that is your friend, right? Y'all hang out together, y'all spend time together, y'all have mutual friends that you're not really cool with. And that friend is with you. And when she's with you, she's talking about Keisha. Y'all talking about her because you don't like her. Not necessarily talking about her, but you're like, I'm not really fond of Keisha. I don't like really hanging out with her. She's not really cool with me. And your friend's like, yeah, girl, I understand, and and whatever. And all the while, that friend, in that moment, y'all are cool, and that's your truth. But then that friend is going back to Keisha and being cool with her and talking about you. And then you find out later, this person that I trusted to tell my truth to is going back and talking mess about me to the person that I asked them not to do that to, or to the person that I told them I wasn't comfortable around. I think that's, and in that moment, you're going to feel like, wow, well, I trusted you. And yeah, Nika's right. In the moment, I trusted you and you weren't being honest with me, because she could have said, well, you know what? I like Keisha and I'm going to be friends with you and I'll be friends with her. And I'm not going to engage or tell you, you know what? Keisha was saying this and I think y'all should talk. And I think, you know what I mean? As like, rather than lying to you and making it seem like I'm on your side and then going back to Keisha and making it seem like she's on Keisha's side. That's the whole problem with the truth. That's true. You can't always share your truth. But why? But why is that a thing?
Because
losing people.
Fear of losing people, but also fear of judgment. Because in that situation, this situation, the scenario that you just even brought up is the same as something in a romantic relationship. Because is it any less true that you were friends with this person? You make it believe that you're not, because she couldn't have possibly been my friend if she's sharing my truth with somebody else. She couldn't have possibly been my friend if she's over there talking about me the same way she's talking about Keisha. Because at that point, if you are dealing with somebody who does that, then you should be aware she gonna do that to everybody.
Yeah.
if she's talking about Keisha to you, you should know she over there talking about you to Keisha,
and
because that's the kind of person that she is.
For me, I wouldn't be talking to her. So once I find that out, it would be like, okay, girl.
We expect that people are going to, and this is part of what is the problem with all relationships. We have expectations of people that, one, they may not be able to maintain or handle or sustain, and two, that maybe it's not even something that they are. We think that you are going to be completely 100% loyal to me because you're my friend, but loyalty is not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, loyalty is different than truth, though, because like I said, she could just tell you in the moment, if you're saying I'm not cool with her, and there's those girls, no, I'm not cool with her either, girl. So you know what I mean? There's those women that are like that. I'm not cool with her either. And then you go and you are cool with her. So that could have been her moment to say, well, I don't want to get in the middle of this. I am cool with her, but I'm cool with you too. So, and that's not a hard thing to do. And that's not necessarily the same as you sitting up and kikiing and laughing with one person while you're talking bad about somebody else, and then going to that person and doing the same thing. But also throwing that other person in the salt. You know what I mean? Because you can be friends with both of them. You don't have to just be friends with one of them. You can be friends with both, but you can be honest with them and let them know this is where I lie. I think the problem with me that I think is like people that are not honest to me, and like Anika said, you can't always share your truth and be 100% honest. But people that are not honest to me 90% of the time, it means that there's something about you that you feel, and it's normally an internal problem. And then when you go and you're doing all this and spreading all this stuff and creating all this whatever in other people's lives, it becomes a problem for them. Sorry.
Really?
It becomes a problem for them. But I think the first thing, in order for you to be honest with other people, you got to be honest with yourself. And you have to know who you are and what you're sure of, and know that your truth is going to change. And I think some people don't have that, to where, and it could be because of how you grew up and how you don't want to be judged and this and that. But as adults, I think we kind of have to learn how to navigate that and learn how to say, this is my truth. And if people over here don't agree with it, I'll be okay finding some people that do. I think that's the problem too.
Okay. Devil's advocate. Sometimes people are not 100% honest with you because of you.
I don't believe that.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that because let
me put a scenario out there. You had a situation that was minor, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody borrowed your shirt. Mm-hmm. And if you're a person who doesn't like people borrowing your stuff, mm-hmm. somebody borrowed your shirt, your friend borrowed your shirt and didn't tell you. Mm-hmm. And when they brought your shirt back, you went off, because why would you borrow my shirt without asking me? And why would you not tell me that this is the shirt that you was going to borrow? And you could have just told me and blah, 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 whatever your reaction might be. Right. Mm-hmm. So that person is not going to be honest with you anymore after that, because they don't want to get that reaction.
That's a bad example though, because you wasn't honest in the first place.
It's not a bad example because they may not have even known that you wasn't okay with them borrowing your shirt.
That's why you ask. And if you would have asked, you would have gave that person the opportunity to set. And that's what I mean about the truth. You would have. But I'm using
that as the example of why people might not be honest with you because of you.
You got to use a better example, because that one was pretty bad.
Okay, we'll just do it in relationships. If there is a situation where you walk by, or a girl walks by, you and your man are sitting at the table, the girl walks by, he looks at her, you go off because he's looking at her.
Now that is a better example. But that's still not you not being honest because of the person. Because like we talk about with emotions, how you feel about the way that somebody else reacts and how you react to it is different. Oh, she got mad at me when I was looking at that girl, so I'm gonna cheat on her. Why don't you just say, you know what? I like looking at other girls, and if that's something that you're not gonna be cool with, I can't be in this relationship. That would be your
thing. People don't do that,
but people should, and that's the problem. I think there's way too many people on this earth for us to be trying to hold on to people that don't fulfill what it is that we need. And I think we have a problem. And I have this problem sometimes too. And I think you do too. I think everybody does. I think we have a problem with, we're so comfortable with the people that we're around and we don't want to lose them, that we mold ourselves and fit ourselves to be what they want us to be. And that's not right either, because at the end of the day, you and yourself and what you believe and your truth is lacking. If I decided I wanted to cut my hair and everybody was like, no, don't cut your hair, Kalia, because you're going to look like a boy. You're going to look like a man. And I'm like, well, this is what I really want to do. And I'm not doing it. A part of myself is going to be upset because I can't even be who I want to be around people. And then I'm going to cut my hair and be wearing wigs around the people that didn't want me to cut my hair. You see, so it's like, it's not even about the other person when you're being honest. It's about you, because what it is in you, you are not able to live up to your own truth, and you're not able to fulfill what it is that you need if you're going around lying to everybody.
Yeah, that's what I tell you. Like I tell you all the time, whenever you have an internal struggle, it's because you're going against what your truth or your reality might actually be, based off of other people's reactions or other people's needs or desires. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that makes it difficult for you to live in your truth, because you want to be accepted. You don't want to be judged. You don't want people to think anything about you that's not necessarily what the reality might be. Like if somebody was to be honest, right? A lot of honest people get treated horribly because people don't like that. People don't like the truth. They think that the truth is the most horrible thing that you could ever. Anybody who is brutally honest, why does it have to be brutal?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? If you're honest, you're honest. If that's the reality, if that's the truth, why not be able to just tell that? Because people get their feelings hurt and people don't want to hear whatever it is that's really happening. They want to think whatever it is that their reality is or whatever it is that their truth might be, that's what they want to live in. And if you tell them something different or give them some different information, now all of a sudden their whole world is shattered and they don't want to deal with you because why are you so brutally honest about stuff?
But there's a way to deal with that too. And Anika, yeah, that is one of the biggest issues. But the brutally honest thing, I don't necessarily, I feel like people that always say I'm brutally honest are rude. And that's why they say brutally.
That's what I'm saying.
And let me give you an example, because they're not just being honest, they be saying rude shit. They're the people like, oh girl, like, that's true too. But I also think there is a way to be honest. And there's a difference. I'm gonna tell you why. Because there's a difference between me saying to you, oh my God, that sweater is so ugly. I don't want you to ever wear that again or ever go out of the house looking like that ever again. Throw that away. Earn that. That's not true, because that's my opinion that your sweater is ugly. If you are wearing that sweater, it's because you like that sweater. I can tell you, I don't really like that sweater. And that's not the same as me saying, girl, that sweater's ugly. Go throw that in the trash. Burn that. Those type of people are the people that are like, I'm brutally honest. That's completely different than saying, I don't like that sweater.
But you do understand that somebody who says, girl, go burn that sweater because that sweater is ugly, and somebody who just says, you know what, I don't really like that, the person's feelings is hurt in the same way.
I don't think so.
Because yes, it is.
Even with you tell me you don't like something, I like it. I'll say, oh, okay, but I like it. But if you was to tell me,
say that now.
Yes, but you didn't always say things the same way though. And I was younger, and it was something I had to learn. But there's a difference, because if somebody doesn't like something, that's their own thing. Now, if you're telling me I need to go burn that because my sweater is just ugly, that's not an opinion. That's you telling me that's what you need to do because that sweater is just bad. But saying you don't like it is saying, oh, I don't like it. It might be for you, but that's for me. But that's your truth.
That's somebody's opinion. But again, that is their truth.
Exactly.
Right? Somebody's opinion of how they feel about something is their truth.
Exactly. But
is it not?
It is. I'm just saying brutally honest is rude. That's what.
But if we're talking about being rude, that is a problem, because rudeness comes out of etiquette, right?
Okay.
Where did etiquette come from? It didn't come from just people talking to each other or communication. Etiquette came from being, what we were talking about last time, Christian values. You have to be a virtuous person. You have to be, accepting of everybody. You have to love everybody through God and Jesus, right? But if you are a person who says exactly what is on your mind, that is honest conversation. Whether what's on your mind is going to hurt somebody or not. If my thoughts are, oh, that is an ugly ass sweater, and I say, oh, that is an ugly ass sweater out of my mouth, that is the honest truth for me.
Yeah, and I actually would be more happy. I actually am happy when people tell me they're brutally honest and they come out and they talk like that, because those are the type of people that I don't want to be around. And so because I have a way that I like to communicate, and I don't communicate well with those type of people. So for me, that would be somewhere where in my truth, that's harsh for me. You can tell me the truth without saying it to me like that.
Why is that harsh for you?
Because I think there's a way you can say things. I think people's opinion doesn't always have to be rude. And sometimes, let me give you an example.
But exactly. But does that mean that you're trying to control how people communicate to you?
No, because if I decide, I'm going to tell you why. Because I'm not going to tell you, if you're like that and you say this is the way I am and this is the way I'm going to be, I'm not going to tell you I'm going to tell you, you know what? I don't necessarily like that. And you can decide if you want to change that or not. And if you don't, then I'm going to say, I don't need to be friends with you anymore. We need to kind of move on, because I had a friend who was like that, who said rude stuff to me. And there was a point where I decided I couldn't take that, and I decided not to be friends with them. But you being able to have that conversation, and maybe if it just doesn't work out, y'all just don't mesh. But I had a thought. But let me say this. I think the problem is us thinking that we have to. It's another thing of like what you said. People are not honest, because if somebody tells me this is just the way that I am, I might feel like, oh, well, I don't necessarily like that. So now I have to be quiet about how I feel because you're always going to do that. And so in order for me to hold on to this relationship, I have to accept the fact that you're brutally honest and that you hurt my feelings when you say things. And that's not true. That can be an amicable thing of like, you know what? My truth is I don't like the way that you communicate. And your truth is that's the way that you communicate. So bye. We're just not going to be friends. And I think that's what I'm saying to you about the whole thing about the cheating. If you say, this is what I want to do, you give that other person the opportunity to say they don't want to. But if you decide, I'm just going to go cheat and I'm not going to say anything to you, you don't give that person an option to say, this is not what I want. And that's the problem. I think we think that people, because that's just how people are, we have to stick around and stay for it. And that's why some people are not honest, because I know this person's not going to stick around. And 9 times out of 10, if you feel like you have to lie to somebody, you know that they're not going to accept it. So in a relationship, but it's not them though, because you are deciding, what did we just talk about? You are deciding that what's important to you is not important. It's not just about the other person too, because if you have to lie, you are deciding the way that I feel is not important enough for me to be honest. And it's not important enough for me to go find someone who believes what I believe.
I don't think it's about importance. I think it's, I can't be honest with you because I don't want you to react or to be or to say or to do the things that I know before or before that you have said that have kind of scarred me in a way that I don't necessarily feel like I can be honest around you. And that's not just people who are cheating. That's like abusive relationships, right? Yeah. You should be able to show up however you show up. There should be no reason why anybody should be able to stamp out whatever it is that your personality is or whatever it is that you got going on because they don't like the way that things are going or the way that you say it. You should be able to be who you are and be honest in your truth and who you are. And the thing is, if you don't like it, then you need to choose to engage with somebody else who's different.
That's the importance.
But that is on that's a personal individual responsibility. That's not you needs, I don't like this, so you need to change. That's I am thinking that I don't like it. So if you, like you said, if you don't change it, then I'm gonna go find somebody who doesn't do that type of thing.
But you have to give them that chance first. Because I think that that's part of what it is. Even like you said, in romantic relationships or non-romantic relationships, because 9 times out of 10, people are the way that they are. And they are like that because they grew up a certain way. Like us, we grew up a certain way to where we're very open with each other and we talk about everything. And some people are not like that. And sometimes I've gotten into relationships with people that are not like that. And they feel like I just talk too much or I just talk to my family too much. And I don't know that that's a problem for you until you tell me. And then if you say, you know what, I really don't like the fact that you talk to your mom about everything. And that's something I need you to stop. And I can either say, oh, I didn't know you didn't like that. So if I feel like I can do something different, then I will. But if I don't, then I'll say, I'm not going to do that. And then you can take the opportunity to say, either I'm going to leave or you just stop telling me. I think it's a thing, but I think the only way to even help a relationship, whether it's friendship, mother-daughter relationship, is for everybody to be honest and say, this is what I need, and this is what I want. And either you can provide that for me or you can't. And I think that is really what the problem is with truth. I think it's hard for people to have those conversations with each other, especially when they feel like, well, this is just how you are. That doesn't mean that you don't still need to say how you feel. And I think regardless of how somebody reacts, I think that's the hard thing, is us not wanting somebody to react negatively. But that's a thing inside us. That's not necessarily a thing in them. And it's because the way we see something negative might not be the way they see it. So it's that problem of like, everybody communicates different. Everybody has different families that they grew up in and different ways they navigate situations. Kind of like what Anika was saying, in a professional setting, you're a bitch if you act a certain way. And especially if you don't say it the way that they're accustomed to, like dealing with white people. Something in my nice white voice, they might think I'm being a rude black girl, but I'm like, this is the way that I talk. I talk like this all the time. So just because you're not used to it doesn't mean that I'm being rude, but I wouldn't know that they thought I was being rude if they didn't say something. You know what I mean? So I think it's just all about And that's why I say honesty, because that's the biggest thing in relationships that people have problems with. You don't communicate with each other, and then you don't know something, and then you sit there and you deal with this person being like this, even though you don't like it, because you weren't honest about it, and you didn't even know if they could do something different or not, and you decide to stick with it because that's just how it is. And that's not the truth.
What you said a little while ago is, I think, what the problem is. Because like you said, we could sit down and we can have a conversation, and I could tell you, this is how I am. This is just how I am, right? If people don't think that it's a problem, then they're not going to be willing to change it.
Of course not.
But the only reason why people think that their behavior is a problem is because somebody else doesn't like it.
I guess so.
At some point in life, just like when you're little, right? Just like when you're a little Black girl and you go into these schools and you start being labeled as sassy, or you start being labeled as bossy, or you start being labeled as, talks too much, right? Then you start to change and you start to adjust yourself because you don't want to be judged in that way.
That's true. That's what's wrong with the world.
That's what's wrong with the world. But that's the problem with people being honest with each other, because now at the point of when you become an adult, you learn how to adjust. You don't learn how to be honest. You don't learn how to be authentic and show up as yourself. You learn how to adjust to the situation, and you learn how to adjust to the relationship. So nobody says, well, I'm just going to leave because I don't really like how you doing this, and I'd rather go find somebody who does what I like. They adjust and they say, okay, well, I don't like it, but I'm just going to be quiet and I'm not going to say anything about it.
But let me say this, and I'm gonna say this, and I don't want anybody that's a parent to take it back, because I'm a parent too. I don't believe that the way that you become it is from environmental as well. But the first people that you have relationships with are your mother and your father. True. If your mother and your father allow you to be who you are, it doesn't matter what other people think about you if they keep reinforcing that you're going to be who you are. Because we had that. You let us be a certain way, and we went around people, and people were like, what the hell? What is wrong with y'all? And that wasn't something that we toned down, because of the fact that our mother told us that was okay to be that way. And yes, we got in trouble with it in school or whatever, but I'm still that same way. I'm still outspoken. I'm still like that. And I'm still the person that if I have a problem with something, I'm gonna tell you. I'm not gonna let nobody take advantage of nobody. I'm still like that. And I think it's because you reinforce that in me, and you are one of my most important relationships. And regardless of what anybody else said, if I come to you and I say, Mom, somebody is telling me this, you're going to tell me, don't let them do that to you. And you're going to be open to me and let me have that. I think it comes from a strong family base, because if your parents and the people that you care about and the people that you look up to tell you it's okay to be who you are, then you'll go out and you'll see that some people are not cool with it, and you'll find people that are cool with it. You'll be like, okay, then you're just not the person for me. I'm not going to change who I am. And that's not true for everybody. I think sometimes school does affect you, and some situations do affect you to where you feel like you have to change. But I think if you have a strong base of people who are cool with the way that you are, like you said, some people are like, this is just the way that I am. And they're like that because people in their lives are saying, this is okay for you to be that way. And that's not the problem. The problem is, yes, the problem is if you're in a situation with people who don't agree and you feel like, okay, I'm still going to be this way, even though you don't agree, then you do that. But you let that relationship go because obviously they don't fit. And I think that's the biggest problem. People don't know how to let people go if they don't align with what they want. You don't have to be stuck in a situation with somebody who doesn't want the same things that you want. You can leave.
Yes, you can. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay and make it work, because for what?
Devil's advocate, if you do want to hold on to that relationship, you can't be mad about it later. And I want to say that too.
Which goes with cheating too.
That's true.
If you know that your person is stepping out at some point, if you get the inkling or you get the idea that that's what they're doing, and you ask them and they say no, but you already know this is going because you got screenshots, you got text messages, and you decide to stay, you can't be mad 20 years later when you find out that that's the actual truth.
Yeah, that's if you know. I agree with that. I think if you find out the truth, especially like a lot of, and I'm just saying women here because this is what I know, but a lot of women come into situations where they go so hard to try to find out if their boyfriend is cheating on them, and then they find out and they stay, and then they get mad when he cheats 6 months later. But you knew that that's something that he was doing, and that was your opportunity to say, you know what, I'm going to leave. Because when you stay, you pretty much tell that person, I don't have to change because you're staying here. Well, not that it's their fault, but
No, I won't say fault. Fault is not a good word.
no, it's not their
But
fault. I think it's a
abuse
lot
is
of
different.
factors.
Abuse is different because abuse actually changes you physiologically. Abuse
Yeah.
actually changes your brain development. It's not
Yeah.
like a decision. You can't, when you're being abused, you can't make a decision to leave, because at that point, when the abuse is at the core, when it's the big part of the abusive relationship, it's difficult to make that decision because your brain is functioning in survival. So that's different than just a relationship where you're being cheated on. You can't just make a decision to leave at that point, because you have all these things invested, and this person is controlling your life in such a way that you can't actually live without them. Like, that's the whole point of abusive relationship. So that's a little bit different when you're talking about abuse. But I mean, people could consider being cheated on like an abusive situation.
Because it can be, because you can be gaslighted, and you can yeah, she's right. It does start out that way. You can see some stuff going on, and I think that's why people that are abusive, though, they try to keep you away from your family, and they try to keep you away from people, because they don't want you to have people that are going to tell you that this is not right.
Right.
So but I don't think everybody that cheats is abusive. And I don't think everybody that deals with that type of thing is abusive. Because like you said, they could still be taking care of you and taking care of home. And the only thing they're doing is going out and fucking somebody else every now and then. So it depends. But no, it's nobody's fault when they go through abuse. And 9 times out of 10, if you're in an abusive relationship as an adult, you had that already in your life as a child. Yeah. And it's something that you're comfortable with. And you might not know it, but that's not your fault. That's not your fault for being in an abusive relationship at all.
Well, I mean, even if somebody cheats, it's not your fault. Whatever somebody else's behavior is, that's not any fault of yours because they have had their behavior. But the decision to stay is yours.
How you react to it. Especially if you go, like you said, if you go through all this trouble, like people do now. My boyfriend's cheat. You posting all this stuff on the internet, trying to find out who this girl is, or you're like, now you're doing all this stuff, and then you end up not leaving him. People are gonna look at you like you're stupid. So if you're gonna stay, don't say nothing. Just keep it to yourself. Figure that out with yourself and say, you know what, this is not a problem for me. And if it's not a problem for you, that's fine. But you can't know that he's cheating and have the opportunity to leave. Like, some of these women are taking care of men that are cheaters, and you're taking care of him, and it's his. You know what I mean? You are the one that has your own. You don't need to depend on him. And you say, well, I just want to be with somebody so bad, and he's the only one that puts up with my shit, and he's the only one that deals with me. And you decide not to leave, and then he cheats again, and you get upset again. That's your fault, because
that comes with messaging. That's the messaging. The messaging is, I can't be by myself because I need to have a man to take care of me, or I need to have a man to be around me, or I need to have this image of this perfect relationship in order to make people believe that this is what's going on. And so I'm not going to leave even though these things are hurting me. But at the same time, devil's advocate, you are hurt by something that you can't, because you can't control it, right? You can't control what other people's behavior is. You can't control when somebody's going to be out having sex with somebody else. That's not something that's under your control. What you control is whether you decide to engage or not.
And that's the problem. People feel like they don't have control because they can't control other people. But you do have control of yourself.
Yes, you do. You have control of how you move.
And that's the biggest, where you're saying people want control. People just need to realize that the control is in you. And this person is going to do that regardless if it's you or somebody else.
Yeah, because
so you need to say, this is not for me. I love you, but no, I'm gonna control what I do, and you're gonna have to deal with being single for a little bit, and you're gonna have to deal with finding somebody else, and you don't have to. You can be okay with that, but that's the thing when you talk about control. I think people are, because I do feel like you have control of your environment and your surroundings once you get to be an adult. I think you do, because like I said, you have the opportunity to say, this is not for me, and I will leave.
Yes.
That's your control. It's
not personal responsibility, but you can't control your environment.
You can't
control. No, you can't.
I'm gonna give you an example. I'm gonna give you an example. As an adult,
you can change your environment. You can't control it.
Well, not control, but as an adult, and when I say environment, I kind of mean what you take in and what you deal with. even on the internet. And I say this because you can. So that's what I mean when I say control your environment. I've been in situations with people that were not necessarily ideal for me and things that I felt like I had to hold on to. And once I decided to let all those people go and go find things that fit me, and not all the time did I find environments that fit what I am, like a lot of the shows that I be doing when I be performing. Sometimes it's nice to perform somewhere, but that's not for me. And I have to decide, okay, this is not my crowd of people, even though I wanted to find a crowd so bad. This is not my crowd of people. And I have to keep searching for what it is that I want. And then you find people that align with you. Like the show I was at last night, I was already feeling bad about it because I already have bad experiences, even though I knew it was somebody I trust that invited me. And when I was there, it was people that I wanted to be around. And it was like, okay, you know what? This is my environment. These are the people that align with what I align with. These are the people that have the same music and ideas that I have. I think part of it is we believe we believe that because we grew up a certain way, that there's not people out there that think what we think. And sometimes in our family, we are the black sheep and our truth is different. And I don't mean black sheep in quotes. That's the thing, but you know what I mean? Like that's a phrase. But our reality is different from the people that we grew up with. So we feel singled out. And we feel like we're the only people who feel this way. And we feel like we're the only people who want to do this. But when you think about, like, I'm going to just say, for example, like an artist that was in the hood and they made it out the hood and they decided to go live somewhere else, and they network with different people and they're with different people. Their reality completely changed. And that's based on what they believed. And they found people that believed it, and whether they were white, black, Mexican, whatever. They found people that aligned with what they aligned with. And I think that's what we have to understand, is that we don't have to deal with people's shit. We don't have to, even if they're family. You are not obligated to be around people that do not align with what you align with, and that do not encourage you in the way that you want to be encouraged. And even if it's family, if you feel like it's your mom, your dad, your cousin, your sister, whoever, but maybe in the future, you guys will realign. And that's something that we have to understand too. Like, it's not going to be like this forever. We just don't align right now because everybody has their own paths and their own what they need to learn. And I think it's hard to let people go, and it's hard to say, I can't be around you because of this. But I think we have to figure that out as like adults. And that's the hardest part for us to figure out. Wow, I have to figure this out by myself. Like, I have to really dig into myself and see what it is that I want. But that's what it is. Like, it's about you. Your life is about you. It is not about anybody else. And I think we feel guilty for saying, I don't want to deal with you because you're like this, but you shouldn't. You should feel completely okay to say that. And of course, people are going to play devil's advocate, and I do it all the time too. But I think at the end of the day, it's up to you. And you don't have to deal with anything you don't want to deal with, unless you're in a situation where you're being abused. That's a little bit harder. But as people navigating through life, we don't have to deal with nothing we don't want to deal with.
You don't. And I think that that's the problem with relationships in general. People do not ever, I won't say ever, because some people do. People don't meet people and they get to know who they are and say, this is not aligned with what I want. Let me go on and try to find somebody who does. Right? Because if a lot of people embarked on romantic relationships in that way, right? You don't necessarily, okay, first date, I'm asking you questions about what you want your life to be. You don't want kids, but I do. You don't want to live in this place, but I do. You don't want to move for this thing, but I do. But I'm going to continue to engage with you because I think you're cute.
And because I think that will change. I think I can change that about you.
Right.
Rather than saying,
eventually you're going to change your mind, and eventually you're going to try to be different. But you don't, in the beginning, want the same things that I do. And yet I'm going to still continue to engage in this relationship because I think that this is something that I want. I want you for a specific reason. So instead of me saying, you know what, I think you're cute and you're sexy, let's just have sex because that's the reason why I really want you. But I'm going to go and try to find a relationship with somebody or a situation that's a long-term thing with somebody who aligns with what I want.
Yeah. Or don't if you don't want to. Or say this is not for me because we don't have the same.
Or say this is not for me. This is not what you want and what I want don't match. So I'm going to go ahead and move on.
So I think the bottom line that we found out is people don't want to be. The thing with truth, everybody's truth is not the same. Doesn't always stay the same. And sometimes people can be truthful because they don't want to lose the people that they have in their lives due to their truth.
Or because they're afraid. that what they want is not going to be something that they're going to get.
Or they might think it's negative. They might think that they're weird for wanting that. But I promise you, there's always some people out there that feel the same way that you do. It might not be people that feel the same way about everything like you feel, but you can always find a group of people for that part of you that you have in you. You can have your family to talk to, then you can have about certain things, then you can have your friends to engage with about other things. And I think that's the importance. When you have a certain truth that certain people don't align with, find other people that you can add that can feel that value. And you might not have to get rid of anybody that doesn't have it. It can be as simple as, I know my mom doesn't like hearing about my relationship, so I'm not going to talk to her about that. I'm going to talk to my friend about my relationship. That way I can still fulfill that part of me, but my mom is going to know we ain't going to talk about that because you don't like that, you know? And that's as simple as being honest with yourself.
Right. Like I always tell you, find your people.
Yeah. Even if it's like
who they are.
People for just 20 different parts of you. I think you can do that. As long as you are fulfilled. That's the thing. So if you feel like you're not being fulfilled, you need to find where you Shh.
Okay. On that note. Good night for us. We're talking about the truth. Thank you for Anika, because Anika been rocking with us this whole time.
No.
I love you.
Love you, Anika.
All right. So we're going to find your truth. That's the end of it. All right. You got any last parting words, Yanaa?
I like this topic.
Okay. So now what?
That's it. I'm appreciative, you know.
All right. So we won't be back next week because we gonna be gone. We will be back the week after for a brand new episode. So love y'all. Thanks for everybody who's watching and rocking with us. We will see y'all soon. All right.